Hello everybody, I'm Indie Dev Dylan and welcome to another devlog on Hero. After the last video, I took a little break on developing the game. When I returned to working on the game, I wanted to try an idea that I had been thinking about doing. It is really important to me that my game has controller support, as being a platformer, controllers tend to feel better than keyboard and mouse. I had two options. Use Godot or update my game to a new version of Unity that uses the new input system. The issue with the latter was that I have tried doing this when I first started the project around 2 months ago. When I install a different version of Unity and create a new project, I receive tons of errors for packages not containing meta files, therefore being ignored. So I decided to go with Godot. Working with the Godot again was weird, and I quickly realized that it wasn't going to be easy to port from Unity. So I tried to use a new version of Unity. It didn't work. It was at a standstill for a little while as I tried to troubleshoot the issue for a few weeks. Then I decided to continue developing the game on my original version of Unity. But that does not mean I won't have controller support later, because as of right now, I am currently working out a solution for this issue. Coming back to working on my game after a hiatus was pretty intimidating. I knew that I had learned a lot, but since I took a break, I was worried I would be totally lost. I also had lower motivation to work on the game. I made a copy of the last project, 0.6, and named it 0.6.1, with the goals of fixing up the demo. Heading back to the Trello board, I set up some goals for this new version of my game. One of these being improved enemy AI. At the time of making the enemies, I was really proud of what I came up with. But playing through the demo and seeing others play showed me that they made no sense. No matter if they can't see you, they still attack, and that was my biggest problem. The turtle was the first enemy that I had made, and the first one I improved. After some research, I found a script that will achieve what I wanted. I wanted the enemy to not see the player if the player is behind them, but if the player gets too close to the enemy, it will be able to sense them and begin attacking. I wanted to make sure that the enemy won't follow the player if there is not ground on the tile in front of the enemy. I wanted to make sure that when the enemy does attack, it won't stand directly on the player and spin out of control, but instead will stand about half a tile away from the player. When the enemy does damage the player will take knockback. The enemy will not go to areas it can't get out of. I also broke up my enemy controller script into individual controllers as it'll get too complicated to have different enemies controlled by one shared script. And lastly, I wanted to have the enemy stop moving if the player goes too far away. This will help me in the long run with optimization. Moving into this week, I worked on the new mechanics for the bunny. The bunny and the turtle control very similarly because they originally used a shared script. So the new mechanics I made for the turtle easily translated to the bunny. This is still complicated though. The bunny jumps, therefore it could fall into pits and get out, so I had to design a new system for seeing if the bunny can go to certain areas. The system is now hypothetical as it was super complicated for me and was too over the top. When designing the original squid, I created a new layer that enemies collide with, but the player won't, so I implemented a boolean that checked if a game object collided with that collider. If that happened, the bunny's move input would be set to 0. I ran into some issues like the bunny jumping against one of these colliders and then randomly it would just stop jumping. I believe that error is fixed, and I also made sure that the bunny slows down when they are turning around and jumps higher so that the player can dodge it much easier. Also, I made sure that the bunny only switches directions when grounded. Originally, the bunny would jump and turn around like it bounced off a wall, which in my opinion made it look weird and unnatural. These changes aren't the final product, or at least I don't think so. I'm really happy with the capabilities that the enemies have, and the fixes I made to certain issues. But when building new levels or new mechanics, I might run into some more issues. Even after releasing this video, I might be making some more changes. Next on the checklist is, of course, the other enemies, the moving squid and shooting squid. I don't believe the changes to them will be too different from how they behave now. They just need to see you to attack now. I should probably have them done by next week. I'm also going to look into potentially improving player movement, but I cannot confirm that right now. But I do plan on fixing the slingshot. So, yeah. I'm continuing working on Hero and hope to make a lot of progress in the coming weeks. I plan to continue fixing up the demo and maybe add more levels to it. Not sure if it will be the next devlog, but I do plan on releasing this newer version that may or may not have controller support. Fingers crossed though. Thank you so much for joining me. I've been your host, Indie Dev Dylan, signing out.